The 6-3 Supreme Court decision that struck down Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act is not the end goal. That's just the start. The latest Supreme Court decision gutting the Voting Rights Act is not just some isolated legal opinion. It's one page in a very long chapter. And we're going to dig deep into that in the rest of this conversation. And I'm going to show how that decision follows a long line of decisions that guts individual power, guts voting power, emboldens businesses and the wealthy elite, all for the purpose of returning us back to the rules and regulations of the First Republic. So stick around as we dig deep into this. And if you haven't already done so, make sure you drop me a subscribe. So when we think about the decision that just passed, it's just one page in a long chapter of the history of this country. And the chapter that's being written right now is all about dragging the country backwards. And it's dragging the country backwards to fulfill and satisfy the vision of rich, wealthy, white elites that are using organizations like the Federalist Society, ALEC, and the Heritage Foundation to bring us back to a time before the Civil War where only white men ruled, and they ruled with impunity, and everyone else was seen as property. The goal for this regime and the Republican Party is to take us completely backwards, before Reconstruction, before the Civil War amendments, back to the First Republic. And that's a society that's built for white men, property, and power. And everybody else needs to know their place or face the consequences. The Republican narrative tells you that they're about small government, individual liberty, personal responsibility. That's the mythology that they sell you. That's the mythology that they sell you that allows you to buy into an ideology that is completely working against your interests. And I know this from a personal perspective because I was conservatively aligned as an independent in my 20s and 30s. I consistently voted for Republican ideological positions, but I had a libertarian streak to myself. I wanted the government to stay out of my life and leave people alone. And for far too long, I ignored what their actual policy positions meant in terms of the day-to-day lives of everyday citizens. And what their policy goals and positions meant was that every aspect of your life was going to be monitored and controlled through the lens of a white Christian nationalist ethno-state. That's the goal that they wanted to return to. So all of that talk, all of that mythology about individual liberty, limited government, personal responsibility, that's just a Trojan horse. And it's a Trojan horse designed to lull people into a false sense of security so that the Republican Party and the conservative movement is empowered to restore the old hierarchy. And they've done this through manipulating the courts, corporate power. They've done it through voter suppression. They've done it through culture wars, the weaponization of race. Republicans have been working to rebuild the pre-Civil War order with modern tools. So here's the thing that we need to understand. When people talk about the First Republic, and if you want a deep dive understanding of what the First Republic is about, you need to check out Tad Sturmer, and I'll tag him in the show notes so you can get his content. He's a historian, and he talks all about what the grand vision is for the Republican Party, and more specifically, what the original intent and who the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence was really designed for. It wasn't designed for everyday average Americans, and it certainly wasn't designed for brown and black people. It was designed to empower and entrench the liberties and the rights of the elite, wealthy, white males of that era. So when we talk about the First Republic, it's wrapped in parchment and powdered wigs. You talk about founders and liberty and limited government, but the question that you need to ask is, who is it limited for? Because when you look at the pre-Civil War Constitution, it didn't guarantee equal protection. It didn't protect the right to vote. It didn't ban racial discrimination. It was a document built on the premise that some people have all the rights in the world and everyone else is just property. We, the people, really meant the elite, rich, white men of this country. And the entire intent of the Declaration of Independence and the original Constitution was designed to protect white men, wealthy white men, and their property. And when we talk about property, let's not forget that property of that era included people. That's the system that the Civil War amendments were designed to break. And let's keep in mind, the wealthy elites of that era fought against those things tooth and nail. The 13th Amendment ended slavery, except as punishment for a crime. And that loophole, as we see today, is what gives us the prison industrial complex. The 14th Amendment promised birthright citizenship and equal protection under the law. Guess what's under attack today across all the courts in the U.S.? The 15th Amendment said the right to vote could not be denied because of race, color, or previous condition of servitude. Guess what they're trying to do today? That was the new republic, the second founding. And this was the country saying, at least on paper, that the slaveholder republic was dead. But here's the thing. Even though America was built on the backs and blood and bones of black people, and even though America was built on the blood, sweat, and tears and enslavement of those people, and even when that was quote-unquote abolished, America never accepted responsibility and never accepted accountability. And the old order that lost the Civil War, they were never properly punished and held accountable for the things that they did. And they never accepted defeat. And if you really want to understand that, all you need to do is look at how the Civil War narrative is framed across all of the school curriculum in the South. That entire lost cause narrative, the entire war of Northern aggression, anything and everything that was pushed forward by the daughters of the Confederacy tells you exactly why we are where we are today. It's because the Confederates, the traitors to the Union, never paid the price. I've said it before and I'll say it again. If America really wanted to deal with accountability, the entire South should have been burnt to a cinder. But instead, America made the decision that white comfort was more important than accountability. And that tendency to err on the side of white comfort has happened for a century and a half, and that's exactly why we're here today. Now that we've set the stage, you should have an understanding of how today's Republican Party was built on the foundation that I talked about and that was established in the First Republic. You have a better understanding of what Republicans mean when they say they want to make America great again and return to an era where America was good. But that's just the beginning of the story. In part 2 of this conversation, I'm going to talk through how the lessons from the Confederacy and Operation Paperclip all led to the creation of the Powell memo. And the Powell memo is the foundation for everything that we see today. That single document establishes the rules of engagement that the Republican Party has been using since the Nixon administration. So check that out in part 2. If you haven't already done so, make sure you subscribe to this channel and then tune in for part 2.